He said, no, that deal's not good enough for me anymore. And I said, well, that's a level of hypocrisy from someone who disdains Hollywood morals that I can't stand, and tried to reverse it, and he wouldn't do it.
I want to ask you about good deals and bad deals you made over the years. We can start with when Amazon was on the brink, the $2 billion worth of Amazon debt that didn't quite work out for you.
Yes, well, it would have worked out. We thought if we bought their debt, one of two things would happen. We'd get paid back 4 times over, or we'd own the company. And at that time, we had to get approval, and our overlords in France at Vivendi stalled us to the point that, without giving us an answer, that period of opportunity just passed.
Would have been worth
a lot.
Speaking of Steve Jobs and turning down the Pixar offer he made to you,
yes.
Why and how much do you think that would have been worth had you said yes?
Oh, I have no idea in monetary terms. I couldn't do that. But it was just, the truth is, I still have no affinity for animation. I don't really understand them. And so when I saw Toy Story in its embryonic state, I didn't like it very much. And it was like, of course it was like a completely dumbass decision, but.
What was the bigger miss, that or AOL?
No, AOL, Toy Story was commission, meaning, I said no to something I should have said yes to. AOL I said yes to, but I couldn't get the financing to buy out the owner, Paul Allen, who owned 25% of it at the time. I couldn't get the financing to be able to buy it, so just the window passed. That's omission.
You remember being criticized for not buying MySpace back in the day?
Oh, of course. Yeah. But look, one of the lucky things that happened to me when I got into the e-commerce and the internet is that I never forgot that you really had to have revenue and expenses in some balance in whatever you did. And so a lot of those internet companies that I could have acquired instead of the ones I did or built is because I couldn't make that balance of their revenue and expense. And in the early days of the internet, everybody was just going after huge expense and no revenue. And I just didn't want to do that.
I mean, kind of similar to what's going on right now with AI.
It's very possible.
What made merging Ticketmaster and Live Nation one of the worst mistakes of your career?
No, merging them was brilliant. Oh my God, should I use such a ego-infested word?
That's not how it came up.
Whatever, it's true. It was brilliant. Putting those two together was absolutely right. Here's the company that dominated ticketing and the company that dominated producing and distributing live events. I have a perfect merger. My stupidity or my naivete was that when I did that, I said, instead of, which we could have done, demanded control of that entity, I said, let's have a board of directors, 6 from your company and 6 from my company. And we'll have no rules other than that, thinking that the balance would be an honorable balance. What I did not know is one of my 6 directors was an infidel who had made a deal with their 6 directors,
Irving,
the dread Irving Azoff, to actually vote with them. And so at the first board meeting, I was outvoted. And the next day I sold my stock.
How does that influence your view of Ari Emanuel?
Ari was part of the coup, so to speak, for sure. And he did apologize. I've never spoken to Irving Azoff, nor would, after that. But he's an incredibly aggressive player who is smart enough and devious enough to make a great way in media. And so I have certainly respect for that.
You wanted to pass on Indiana Jones back in the day. How about the best deal in history that you gave to George Lucas for the original and why you improved it for the sequel?
Well, we made Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I loved the material, but I was very worried I thought that opening sequence would bankrupt us just on its own. Anyway, we made it, but I was very careful when we made that deal with George Lucas, which was as great a deal as anybody had ever achieved in the movie business. And I said, look, I don't want to be in the position of ever arguing about this again, so if we make a sequel, I want to be sure that it's on the same terms as we made this original, and I want that to be contractually laid in concrete. And that's what we did. And then when he said it's time to make the sequel, he said, no, that deal's not good enough for me anymore. And I said, well, that's a level of hypocrisy from someone who disdains Hollywood morals that I can't stand, and tried to reverse it, and he wouldn't do it. In the end, we ended up paying what he demanded.
Sanctimonious hypocrite, I think were the words you used.
That would be the phrase.